Well, hello, 久しぶりですね. This is actually my home office setup right here. I lie down sideways like this and put my laptop on me and I type all day. That's how I translate. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. Since we recently hit 5K subs here and I have been kind of having the itch to just kind of talk about translation a little bit, I decided to do a little video. This is not scripted. I'm just going to talk about, you saw the title, I'm going to talk about how translating novels is similar to writing novels, and I'm probably not going to add any B-roll or text, and there's my cat. So unless you want to see random cats jumping around and my face and stuff, you don't even have to watch this video. You can just have it on in the background, treat it like a podcast. Hi. So if you happen to be new, you don't know who I am, I translate light novels and manga and games currently for a living. That is my full-time career. I mean, it's not technically a full-time job, it's freelance, and I work for a lot of different publishing houses and companies and stuff. These are just two of the light novels that I have translated. This is The Princess of Convenient Plot Devices, Volume 6. It's an amazing series. It's the very first one I started translating professionally for Yen Press, and this is The Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up Trash. I do this one for 7 Seas. I'm on, I think, volumes 13 now. It's a really wholesome, cute isekai survival series, and this one is a really interesting mystery, sort of rom-com-esque, about a Fujoshi who gets reincarnated into a boys' love series and is like, oh shit, now all the dateable characters are dating each other, nobody wants me. It's more than that. On the surface, that's how it starts, but it's way more than that. And that, I don't know if you can see her in the frame, is Yvain, one of my 5 cats. So I have been doing a lot of translating light novels over the past 3 years now. I have translated, I think, 34 by now. By the time this video goes up, maybe it'll be 35. And also in my spare time, I write novels of my own. I started writing a series in 2009, right after I finished my grad school coursework, and I was really burnt out, and I'm like, I want to do something fluffy for myself. I'm going to write a silly novel, and I started writing it, and it just kept going. I took a break for about 10 years, and then I started the series up again at the pandemic, and recently, in the past year, I've really aggressively been going back, revising it, and actually being like, I'm going to actually publish these things. So at the moment, I just have a lot of insights about translating novels and writing novels, because that is just literally what I do all day, every day, and have been for the last year. So I thought I would talk about the similarities between them. Hello, people who clicked on the timestamp of where video actually starts. The main thesis I have on why translating novels is so similar to writing novels, and why I wish people would understand that and think about it more that way, is that when you sit down to write a novel in your native language, at least this is how it is for me, I see a scene in my head. I imagine, the characters are doing something and they're saying things, and, A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, and then this thing happens as a result of the scene, and then we go on to the next scene. Basically, though, I see everything kind of in my head like a movie before I write it. And like as I'm writing it also, like images are kind of coming into my mind, and I'm kind of seeing this like a movie, or like it's happening in front of me and unfolding before my eyes, or like I'm in it, kind of like a dream. And then I translate those images in my mind into words. English words, because that's my native language, that's the language that I write my novels in. When I translate Japanese light novels to English, it's actually an extremely similar process. I still have all of these images and words floating around in my head that I'm seeing, and then I'm translating those images into English words on the page. The only difference is, instead of synthesizing those images and words like with my own imagination, I am getting input from the Japanese version of the light novel. So the latter part of the writing process is extremely similar for translating novels as it is for writing them. It's just the first part is extremely different, right? I don't conceive of the world, the lore, the characters, the plot points, the relationships between the characters. That is all provided for me already in the Japanese text. But what I wanted to point out is that instead of, I think what a lot of normies think translating is, especially translating media, translating literature, creative translation, I think a lot of people think that it is, you grammatically isolate the words and then you translate them using the rules of grammar in English and the rules of grammar in Japanese, and if those are your language pair, and that's how you produce the translation. And like, yes, that is also part of the process, especially if I'm at a difficult to parse section of the book that I'm not getting the images as easily in my brain. But I find that when I am in my flow state, when I'm really doing my best translating work, that's what it is. I'm reading it in Japanese, and then I get these images in my head. I see it in my head like a movie, and then I translate the images, not the Japanese words. I translate the images that the Japanese words put into my brain. I translate those into the English language. So if that sounds out there and like that's not really translating, then that's more like writing. Like, yeah, that's my point. Yes, after I have translated the sentence, like I read the sentence in Japanese, I see the images in my brain, I translate that into English words from the images, not necessarily from the Japanese words. I do then go back, reread the sentence in Japanese, compare it to my English sentence, and that is where I can tweak and look, oh, I missed this adjective that was in the Japanese and I didn't get it into the English, or oh, there's a better way of phrasing this, then from there I tweak it. So in that regard, my translation process is kind of more like editing, where the images is how I write the text, and then I go back and I edit, I reread the sentence in Japanese and in English, and I compare, and then that's when I turn on translator brain and Japanese linguistic understanding brain and English linguistic understanding brain, and more, mathematically, intellectually do the translation. So that is what it feels like, at least for me, to translate Japanese novels to English, and how that is very similar, how it really feels similar to writing English language novels. Because this originated from my creativity, from my creative brain also, when I reread my translation of a novel, I do feel a little bit of ownership to it. I do feel a little bit like it's my baby, similarly to how I feel when I choreograph a dance or write a piece of music or write books in my native language. So it's a really intimate sort of art form / intellectual pursuit. Another analogy that has been sitting in my head that I would like to use to describe what translating feels like, or what the localization process feels like, is the word adaptation is thrown around a lot. You probably hear adaptation more often when we're talking about like anime dubs, and that's because the more you have to adapt something to fit in a different medium, the further it strays from the original source material, the more it's an adaptation. Another area where you may have heard the word adaptation thrown around is adaptations, movie adaptations of books, for example, like the Lord of the Rings movie adaptation of the books by J.R.R. Tolkien. So another way that I could describe what translating feels like to people, this goes a little more broadly, a little beyond simply writing novels, although I think it's still mostly applicable to writing novels, would be if I were to tell you, hey, what's your favorite movie? Hopefully not a movie based off of a book. What's your favorite original movie? And then if I asked you to play by play, point by point, turn that movie into a novel, that's also kind of what it feels like to translate novels. You have all the images, you have all the things that the characters are saying provided for you, but they're not provided for you in written down English prose as it would appear in a novel. Like the dialogue you could more or less copy word for word over, although you probably would have to tweak it a little bit. But the action scenes where Legolas is surfing down the stairs on the shield and shooting arrows, you have to turn that into language, because in the original movie, it's you're watching him doing it. There weren't words saying Legolas slid down the stairs on the shield and shot arrows magnificently. I don't know. There are many different ways you could word that. I actually did a video a few years ago, sort of to this effect, talking about this concept. And it was a more theatrically presented video, and like there was humor in it and everything. I just wanted to talk about it a little more just now that I've had more experience doing it. So yeah, that was my little take on what translating novels feels like and how it compares to writing novels. On that note, as you can see, I uploaded a video. I don't know if I'm going to upload more videos to this channel. I probably will, but I don't think it will be regular. So I have reactivated my Patreon. However, it is not affiliated with this channel. It is now affiliated with the novel series that I am writing. If you want to learn more about that, go to my Patreon. There is a public post explaining all of that. But moving forward, if you want to support this channel at all financially, or if you're like, hey, I liked that video, I want to give you a tip, you can always buy me a coffee. There's a link below. But at the moment, I will not be doing a Patreon for this channel. If I have the spoons, if I lose interest in writing novels for a while, and if there's a lot of interest in holding another Let's Translate class series, basically, I may do that again. Again, that's more if and on an on-demand basis, if there's interest, or if I also have the spoons and the time to do it. If you don't know what the Let's Translate series are, I have two so far, Let's Translate light novels and Let's Translate manga, where I have my patrons translate light novels and manga, and then I compare and contrast the translations and kind of give feedback. So again, those series aren't completely dead. I'm not saying I'm never going to do them again, but don't expect that they will come back, because you might be disappointed. Anyway, I guess that's all. Bye! I'm so good at making videos. Why did I ever quit?